welcome to another episode of Sawdust Nation Podcast with AJ from Crafted and NJ and myself, Josh from North Country Woodworking. We're in episode 18, man. Man, this stuff goes by quick. And this weekend's Halloween. Do you like Halloween?
No, I don't like Halloween because, around here, I'm afraid of a Goosey Night. So last year it was fine. I don't think we ever got toilet papered. So I'm watching out this year. I keep saying I wanted to get a paintball gun and, you sit on my roof and snipe the little guys coming around and throwing the toilet paper and the eggs, but I never do that.
Good, because I know your address.
What are you going to do? Oh, you're going to come over and throw some eggs?
Yeah, I'm going to drive like the 2 hours to go egg and toilet paper your house and the 2 hours back in the same night.
Yeah, exactly. So with Halloween, you asked me if I like it. Are you a Halloween person?
I like the holiday because of the kids. Mm-hmm. My kids go out, they get to, trick or treat, seeing them get to see the decorations and get candy. I get a little candy out of that, so that's nice. But, it's here or there for me. I mean, it's more for them than it is for us.
Yeah, I think my view on it will change once I do have kids. But, I don't think I could bring my cats around to, door to door to get some Halloween candy. I don't think that they would allow that. People would be like, really, you have a cat with you? I mean, they might like it.
Oh, it depends on the person. Some people are dog people. Some people are cat people. You might hit the right house. So who knows?
And get the whole load of candy.
Yeah, and then you can go back and go in the workshop and count your pieces, sort them out, whatever you do. But with Halloween, what do you have going on in the workshop, man?
Real quick on your thing with the candy. That would be an unproductive night because you'd be so hopped up on sugar. You'd be running around that shop, forgetting what you're supposed to do, running back and forth, and nothing would get done.
That actually sounds like a normal night for me.
As I'm saying, I was thinking the same exact thing. I just did that before. So I literally walked around the bench, had to go back around the bench, went to the CNC, and I couldn't remember where I put the pencil, the tape measure. You know how it goes. Those things just get lost every time you put them down.
Oh, my co-host has showed up, by the way.
Did she knock anything over yet?
Oh, not yet. I just got nailed.
Josh is getting clawed to death by his cat. But anyway, what's in my shop? I got, as everyone knows, which this might be a shocker to everybody, I have flags. A lot of flags.
Wait. You make flags?
I attempt to make flags is the better way to put it. And then somehow magically they come out looking kind of pretty. But yes, I do make flags. And currently I probably have at least 12 different flags that are on order. And then I also have the Makers Never Forget flags, which will be delivered not on the day that they're supposed to be, which would be the 28th of October, National First Responders Day. I reached out to 2 local fire departments, and they want to meet when they have a big fire department meeting so that they can be, instead of just 1 or 2 of the captains just showing up, then everybody can be part of it. So that'll be nice. I'll get to do that with Kim, getting to deliver those. And I got flag coin racks. I got to do more of those. And I wish I had my router table set up in my wing of the table saw, with that nice Craig insert that you sent me that is still sitting in the box. But, that'll eventually come probably in 20, 25 years or so.
Real quick with that, I gave you that insert. That way you can complete that project. Hey, wait, hold on. Okay, I can't do this. Come on, off.
We're having a little bit of technical difficulty, everybody. Josh's cat and my cat are both attacking us with love and telling us to go pet them. But we're in the middle of recording this podcast. Why don't these cats understand?
Oh, no, they do understand. That's why they're actually attacking us with affection. But real quick with that insert, I gave that to you because when I initially got it, I used it in one of my benches. And I did not like the setup. I didn't like it at all. But now I'm finding myself thinking about actually taking the router table that I got, the mini one, and inlaying it into a tabletop. That way I can utilize all of its functions still. And, I have a router table that's attached to my table saw. Almost like yours. and then taking some other tools and, moving around to generate space. But that's been a thought of mine. And I just found it funny that like I started off with like an insert plate. Now I'm thinking about inlaying my whole router setup into a table again. And it's just come full circle almost.
What router table do you have?
I had the Bosch.
The like real boxy looking one?
Yeah. Oak Hill Millworks actually just got one and put one together. I saw her post not too long ago. That's the same exact one I got. So I was thinking about somehow figuring out a way to inlaying that into my table, because if I have it inlaid, I can still use that tabletop, and I can still use all the grooves. I can use all the hardware, and underneath would be like, obviously where the router, I'll have that, little door cabinet that I can use. And with that, still utilize it the way it's supposed to be, but in the end, be part of a workbench and kind of utilize it as, a wing of my table saw, almost like what you're going to do.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a really good idea. Now, that table is pretty thick, like that top of it. I want to say, what is it? Maybe like an inch or so?
It is like an inch or so. I would have to actually measure it to give you an accurate measurement. But I'm thinking about it now. What I would do is I would cut the hole in the top, and then I would actually underneath it put some additional structure. That way it kind of sits on the piece underneath it. That way I'm not truly inlaying it like you would an insert plate like you have. I'm actually just creating a structure so it can be lowered into and then be flat with the surface. That it gives me a lot more room to do my routering, complete projects that require a little bit more space. I don't know. It's been a thought because with the addition of the CNC and different stuff, I've been trying to think of how to reorganize the shop. But that's enough about, that. I still want to hear about your flags and what's going on in your shop.
What made me think of it was the coin racks that I got to do, because I picked up this real shoddy router table for like $20. I mean, it's like you twist it to get the router to raise up a little bit, but it has a lot of wobble in it. It's not set up for anything that I want. So that router table in the extension wing is going to be a nice upgrade once I finally get around to it. And for the longest time, I never had a piece of 3/4 ply that was actually the same width and length. It was always too small one way or the other. So now I have 3/4 ply that I was using to make the French cleat wall with. And so I got some extra that'll be perfect for it. Actually, it's oversized, so I'll cut it down, brace it, put it in the wing, and hopefully everything works out the way I'm planning it in my head. And then for the coin racks, I'll be able to do the groove much easier than I was on that little benchtop one. Because like I said, I don't even remember what kind it is. I think it's an old, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryobi used to be blue and yellow?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Old Ryobi?
Yeah.
It used to be blue.
Okay, I thought so. Yeah, this is an old Ryobi. That's right. It says Ryobi on the aluminum top. I mean, I guess at its prime it was good, but now, it's definitely not. I have the router for that insert you gave me. It's literally sitting brand new on top of my bench, just irking me to make that extension wing.
Interesting note about that plate. It also fits a Craftsman, if you notice by some of the homemade drilled holes.
I did not. I wonder. Oh, that's one thing I never did was I never put it up to the Bosch. I wonder if it'll fit.
It's supposed, it fits out of the box. It does tell you that it obviously is going to fit most of the Bosch routers that are out there, including some of the Palm ones, I believe.
Okay.
But unfortunately, it did not fit the Craftsman that I had bought it for. So it's a good plate. There's nothing wrong with it, but there are some homemade drilled holes there. So
that's all right. But other than the coin racks, those cutting boards that you helped me with, coming up with the idea, they're coming out amazingly well. I got 2 of them right now sitting with Wally sauce on top. They're coated all the way around. I had them sitting probably well over 12 hours. So now I just got to go wipe off the excess. I'm going to put some wax on it. And last night, which was Monday. Wow, I can't even remember what today is. Kim was helping me with making our own board butter. So we had some beeswax, mineral oil, and she put just like a few drops of lemon essential oil in it. And it turned out really, really well. I bought little tins on Amazon. So when I sell the boards, I'll be able to put those with it. One's actually going to be a housewarming gift for a friend of hers. And I have an order for one that should be coming up with that. They don't want a juice groove. So luckily I didn't cut all the juice grooves in it yet. I had to fill the backs with epoxy because as I flipped them over, they had some knots and voids that, because it was that butcher block top, so they didn't care what the bottom looked like. You know,
Yeah.
You were talking about Halloween. Now I think I have ghosts in the house. The cat is pushing on the door behind me, and I'm thinking somebody was outside. Jesus Lord. Yeah, this is a spooky episode, everybody. Yeah, great. Scared the hell out of me. Anyway,
You can sleep with the lights on, man. It's okay.
I'm going to turn every light on, and I'm going to turn them on outside. Anyway, besides me being a scaredy cat, the cutting boards, I filled the knots and voids with Total Boat, fast setting epoxy, and used Black Diamond Pigment Battleship Gray, which was amazing. The color of it wasn't so dark, but it had so much shimmer in it. It was really, really nice once you started mixing it. I almost didn't want to pour it in anything, but it was, you did it. I know you've done this. You mix epoxy and you look at what you just filled and go, I still have a lot left. What can I fill with it? And I'm looking around the shop going, I don't really have anything. So I found a flag that I did a test cut of a 1776 on, and I filled the 1776, and I almost used almost all of it. So it was a mad dash because, I didn't want it to start setting or anything like that. But I'm looking around the shop going like, man, nah. What is broken that I can fix? What needs to be filled? I had no other projects that I really needed it on, and luckily I found that other flag. But besides flags and cutting boards, I think that's really all I got going on. I know there's something else that's probably lurking in the back of my brain. I had another collaboration flag with a guy that lives not too far away from me. He builds the flags, and then he doesn't have a CNC or anything like that. He usually does everything by hand and with a Dremel. But some of the more complex things, he reached out to me and asked if I wanted to help out with some CNC projects. So I just got done right before we started recording on a project for him, and made a small mistake. I moved the whole project up one stripe, so it sits a little higher on the flag than the client wanted it. But he said it should be fine. This will be the second. I don't know if I mentioned the other mistake flag. I did, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did.
And it's for the same guy too. Luckily, this one, it's in the same spot that they wanted it, but it's just up literally an inch too much. So it is what it is. And hopefully everybody likes it. He loves it. But I'm just waiting for the woman that's buying it to let him know if it's okay or not. If not, I'm going to have a nice flag hanging up in my office.
That's actually, it looked like an Air Force flag.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was.
It's a patch of some sort. I couldn't tell then. It wasn't the standard Air Force symbol or whatnot, but it is a patch of some sort. Glancing at it, figure out what it was.
It was called Airmen and Family Readiness Center. So
yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
So it's actually, this will be shipped out to California. So that'll be pretty cool that my work, it's not my work. The CNC did all of it and did a really nice job too.
But you had a part in it. You helped design it. You put it on the CNC.
Yeah.
In some small way, and I'm discovering this a little bit more, each time I carve, you're definitely putting some work in.
I'm learning more about the software I'm using, and usually I would take that picture and put it into Inkscape and then trace a bitmap, and usually my bitmaps would come out very blocky and like almost jittery. So luckily I was able to find a video on how to trace the bitmap in Aspire, and it actually came out much cleaner, and it was nice doing it all in one program. So learned something new, and it worked out really, really well. And also when I carved that, I did not know when you use a V-bit on the CNC that you can actually use another tool like an end mill or a flat bit to use as a clearance tool. So any spots that are large and flat, you can have another tool path set that'll clean those up first before the V-bit takes over. And it was much nicer and much cleaner because I used to do it all with just the V-bit. I would set the whole thing, even the clearance, with the V-bit. And now I'm trying it a different way and came out so much cleaner, a lot less cleanup on my end, on the back end of it. So, but other than those few things that I got going on, what do you got going on, sir?
Well, before we get into mine, I do want to ask you, when you're getting into those smaller spaces or, where your bits have been and there's a little bit of, it needs to be sanded, essentially. How do you go about getting into those little spots?
If they're not too small, what I usually do is on the V-bits, I've noticed that, I guess, how it carves. Now, maybe my bit is also starting to dull, but I'm noticing that the fibers of the wood are showing through a little bit more. And what I usually do is I'll take a nylon brush, I'll brush over the V-carve, and it'll kind of act almost like a rough sandpaper, but it won't affect, any of the paint or stain that's on it. Because like this flag that I just did was stained already. So now I can't go in there with sandpaper. My luck, I would take sandpaper to it and I'd destroy the whole thing. Somehow I would sand off the union, even though it's in the middle of the flag. So usually I'll take a nylon brush, I'll go around it. And then also I picked up from Rockler these little, almost look like large Q-tips. You definitely don't use them as Q-tips because that would hurt. I mean, they would probably clean it really well, but they're called Sandits.
A little too well.
A little too well. You might be bleeding afterwards, so definitely see a doctor if you do that.
That means it's clean, right?
Oh, yeah. But
I wonder if our listeners feel the same way. I mean, bleeding from the ears.
Yes. They probably do. I wouldn't doubt it. Especially with my lovely voice that everybody wants to hear. So anyway, back to those Sandits before I forget. The Sandits are from Rockler, and they are, like I said, they have two different grits on either side. I think it's a 120 and a 180. And you can get into small crevices with it. You can sand it. They actually work really well for knocking down the fibers, cleaning up the flat areas. When I was using the regular V-bit to do the whole thing, it actually cleans it up very well. They do not last as long as I would like them to, but they're good. They're really good for what they are needed for. You're not sanding a whole 48 by 48 flat piece of wood. You're just getting into those little carves. So definitely pick those up and nylon brushes.
So what's in my shop? Let's see what's going on. This week, I did some of my first carving. I learned a lot doing those carves. The first one I did was I was trying to do my logo because, I got a CNC, I got to do my logo, right? And tried out some of the bits that actually came with the set, or that come with the set I ordered separately. But yeah, they turned out pretty good. The first two carves I tried to do on 3/4 inch plywood. And the first time, I forget what happened. It didn't turn out really good. I had to stop it for some reason. And then I tried it on the other side and I didn't secure the piece good enough. And I walked out there and my piece is moving with a bit, which is never a good idea.
No.
Don't do that.
No, definitely not.
And then I finally went and I had a smaller piece of wood and I carved a smaller logo than I really wanted to, but it was scrap wood. I really didn't want to get, nice wood to do my first couple carves so I can get some of these mistakes kind of out of the way. Because, this is completely new for me.
Oh, yeah.
So I did a little, section of pine and I went and carved my logo and I did the entire thing out of, with my 60-degree V-bit. And I actually talked to you quite a bit during that process because I was wondering if my feeds and speeds were correct. What's your router setting? I did some research and I found out a lot about just that bit alone and how to carve and some of these terms. When that was done, I actually filled in with some Total Boat Makers epoxy with black diamond pigment. I believe it was Onyx Black, and let it dry. And I sanded it off. I haven't done the final sanding. That's why I haven't really posted much about it. But It turned out pretty good. I liked it. And, I noticed that the piece of wood I had was not exactly level across the entire thing, because I have really nice lettering on like one side. And when you got to country, it kind of got a little thinner and thinner. So it must have been a dip there. So, like I said, a lot of lessons learned. And then I moved on to a sign I've been trying to finish or do what seems like, since I started. I think it actually started when I got my laser, which I don't remember the exact month I got that in.
Real quick, did anybody guess that sign?
No one did. There was a couple guesses, but no one actually came up with the correct one. And what I'm talking about is a while back, I made a lodge sign with my laser engraver, and it turned out pretty good. I put epoxy in it, and then when I ran it through my planer, it was not flat and took off a section of it, and I tried to re-accomplish it. And it didn't turn out well, and it kind of has been sitting on the shelf because it turned out good enough where the client, which are my parents, I was doing it for them, they liked it, but I didn't like how it turned out. The quality of it was not something I wanted to showcase or even give family members. It wasn't good enough. So when I got to CNC, I'm like, that's a great first project, real project. It's a sign. So I went and what I thought it was sycamore, I'm pretty sure ended up being an oak slab. Because as I'm clearing it, it had really porous. The grain looked very much like oak. But anyway, so I actually carved it as material being oak. It was pretty hard. Actually, when I was doing a crosscut with my track saw, I was going too fast, and I started seeing it stopped the blade. Like I had to pull it out and pry out the blade because it was so hard.
Wow.
So, and what I'm thinking is, something, fairly soft wood didn't turn out to be soft at all. Like it definitely, I had to be very careful when I was cutting it down to size and everything.
Now, I have sycamore sitting in my shop right now. I've had it for quite some time, and I have not worked with it. You're talking about a softwood because you thought it was sycamore, but it turned out to be an oak.
I am 85% sure this is actually oak slab and not a sycamore slab.
Is sycamore a soft? Like I said, I've never worked with it. Is it a softer wood than oak would be?
I know I looked it up when I bought it, and I can't tell you the actual if it's harder than oak or not. Actually, why don't you look that up, and I'll continue with my story here.
Oh, thanks for demanding that I look that up. How did you know I was going to look it up?
Because I saw that look in your eye. There's a little twinkle every time we come up with something we don't know. I hear,
How do you know I wasn't just going to look up cat pictures or something like that?
I know that's in a different tab, so I'm not worried.
Possibly.
He's laughing because it's true.
All right, now I'm going to look it up.
Okay. So anyway, I carved that out. I used actually two different bits, almost like what AJ said previously. I found out that in easel, you could actually use multiple bits to complete a project. So I went ahead and I used a downcut bit and I carved out the majority of the entire sign. Then I went back with my 60-degree V bit and did the details. And that actually knocked down the time quite a bit. It turned out really nice. I just have to kind of trim up the sides because I did cut the original piece of wood a little bit longer than what I designed it so I can kind of trim it to the sides as I wanted to. I didn't know how I wanted to actually finish it, if I wanted to put a border around it or whatnot, but I think I'm just going to trim it up and then throw some epoxy in it. Maybe. I'm not quite sure. I'm actually going to ask you this question.
Okay.
Should I put epoxy in it or should I paint it? You've seen the pictures. I mean, I'm having a lot of trouble with how I want to finish this. I actually ordered some Hexacon from Total Boat, and I'm going to
Hexacon.
Is it Hexacon?
What the clear coat?
Yeah.
The Halcyon.
Oh, we can't speak, ladies and gentlemen. Give us a second.
I used
Helicon?
it. Yeah, Halcyon.
Halcyon. I don't know what I was saying. Anyway, but order some of that. And I was going to finish it with that because it's going to be upstate New York, outside, and I want it to be, protected as best it can. So after us talking about it last episode and you talking about being able to throw it into a pool at your bro, I figured it'd be the perfect varnish for that project. But I can't really come up with if I want to paint the lettering and the trees, if I want to do epoxy, or if I just want to leave it as is and just kind of, put the varnish on it and call it a day.
In all honesty, I would say I like working with epoxy, but because you have the trees are carved out, right? And then it's like
They are.
okay. In all honesty, for me, I would go with paint because I like the depth of it. You know, you still get the shadowing of that V carve. I would personally go with paint and then, clear it with the Halcyon because I think it would pop more instead of just, making everything the same level, if that makes sense.
I'm not sure if I'm going to paint it. I don't know if I'm going to do epoxy or just leave it as is. Probably going to post a question up to my parents and see what they want and go from there. If they like it the way it is, leave it. If they want it painted where the carve is, I'll paint it. And, if they really want epoxy, I'll go ahead and throw epoxy in there with the colors they choose. But I'm really looking forward to seeing how that sign actually turns out when it's completely done. Mm-hmm. It's something I've been really trying to get done, and it's been sitting in the shop, or at least a version of it has been sitting in the shop for quite a while. So I'm pretty happy I got that knocked out, or at least started in the way I wanted to.
Okay.
But other than that, on the CNC front, I did a tool caddy for all the clamps and stuff that they give you with X-Carve. They give you quite a bit, and I've been having just a box throwing them in there, and I did not like that because right now my bits don't have a home, all the little accessories don't have a home, and our shops have to be kind of organized, especially because of all the stuff going in and out of them, and I don't want nothing to get damaged. So that was a priority to me to get that in there and try to get one knocked out. I still got to do one for my bits. But once that's complete, I'm actually designing these so they can go into a drawer and I can utilize them appropriately.
And to bring it back a little bit, not that I wasn't listening, I was listening to the whole thing. There's a lot of cute cat pictures. I mean, the hardness scale, you are right. Sycamore is a lot less hard than oak. So I did not know because, like I said, I have it. It's gorgeous. I have spalted sycamore sitting downstairs. And it's really, really nice. But it's like he quarter sawed it. It was quarter sawn.
The bro is coming back.
It was quarter sawn. There we go. And so it's in thinner strips. It's still about like 1.5 inches, 2 inch thick, but it's only like 4 inches wide, maybe. So not a lot to play with, but you can glue it up. So one day I definitely want to work with it. Just never have. And I did not know. I thought it was a hardwood, like much harder than the way that the scale was saying.
Yeah, I remember looking it up, and I remember it being a softer wood compared to some of the stuff I'm used to working on. So when I cut into that, and like the first time I cut into it, my track saw was going, and then it made a noise and just stopped. So obviously I let go of everything, and I'm like, what is going on here? Like the cut straight, there's nothing binding. I took it out. And I had to do 2 passes. I had to do a very shallow pass. This is only 1 inch thick.
Wow.
If that. Had to do a pass and then do a second pass to cut all the way through it. And my track saw was not liking it at all.
I think you need to invest in a different blade.
Probably a little portion of that. Not gonna lie, so I had the original blade on there. But it's been cutting through everything fine. Like, I've had no issues with anything I've cut through maple. In fact, that 9-foot slab I had in my garage forever, I cut just before that right through it. It was It's like 2 inches, maybe 2.5 inches, and I went right through it, no problem. One cut. Then I try to go through this 1 inch piece, was not having it. So I'm pretty sure I got some oak, and I'm gonna go with it being oak. The hardness of it and everything I've seen so far, like oak.
That's really neat. If you are going to get a new blade, I believe I actually saw somebody else put one on their track, so I don't remember who it was, but those spider blades. I know we talked about it one other time.
Whoa, spider.
Yes, I forgot that this is the Halloween episode. As I'm saying it and your face lit up like a jack-o'-lantern. There you go. But I'm pretty sure they make one. I don't know. Do you know the size of your whatever track saw blade? It's an odd size.
Makita?
Yeah.
I think it's someone's gonna get a good laugh. I think it's 6 something.
6.5? Whatever.
It might be. I don't know. I would actually have to look because, the blade's cutting fine. I've had no issues with it. I've had some burns on like the ash a little bit, but
you had burns on your ash?
Yeah, a little bit. It wasn't severe, but enough where I can sand it down and be okay.
Oof. Hopefully you didn't use a high grit.
Yeah, I used about 60 to get rid of that burn, and then I kind of went up.
Mm-hmm. Any ointment?
On that piece, yeah, I think Wally oil is going to be placed on it.
Anyway, yes, it looks like it is a 6.5 inch, and Spider does have 6.5 inch blades. So I love their blade from my miter saw. That thing cuts great. I have not had any issues with it. So I think once my blade gets either dug into the concrete because I forgot to raise the height and I have to change it out like I did once before, I'll probably switch over to a Spider. So definitely look into those. And they're relatively cheap for what they are, and they're great blades.
Well, I'm hoping that Santa Claus or someone for my birthday gets me some new blades for my tools because I definitely have to go around and do a whole blade change. It's been a while since I've done it, and I really probably need it across my tool range. But I definitely want to try a Spider and one of the tools. And, if it's as good as everyone's telling me, I definitely want to go ahead and, change out how my blades are set.
Speaking of blades, and I'm going to probably say not so much. Do you clean your blades regularly? Not like, every day, but once a month, maybe once a week, ever?
So as most people know, including yourself, I've only been doing this, as much as I have been for about a year. And I actually took some time off during that year too. So maybe you can't call it a full year. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, no. That's a negative. I definitely have some router bits that need it, and my blades probably severely need it because I work in pine a lot in the beginning. But it's definitely on my vision. It's almost like my end of the year wanting to clean up the shop, kind of, do some maintenance on my tools, make sure everything is, square. I do that stuff now. But I want to take maybe a week is too long, but like a week of just going through my table saw, my miter saw. Hear that, Trails? Miter saw.
Wow.
And
wow. Shots fired, everybody.
Yep, call them out just a little bit.
Wow.
It's all in good fun. He knows that. You
Does
know that,
he,
right,
though?
man? Yeah, I think he does. I hope so. Because this is what this is about, right? We have fun. If we can't have fun, why are we doing it?
We are having fun, and I cannot wait until Trails posts this up and says something else. Because when I saw that, I started cracking up, and I was
did too.
Just wondering where you were going to go with it.
Well, I was going to do a smart comeback here or there, but I didn't. I said, yep, I sure did say that. And I figured this would be the perfect platform to go ahead and shoot back. But hey, we agreed when we first started this. If we can't have fun, if people out there listening, we want you to interact. If I say something crazy, call me out. AJ say something crazy, make sure you call him out too.
I'll be the first one to call myself out, so I'll do it before anybody gets to me.
Raise your hand as soon as you do it.
Yeah.
But point is like, this is not supposed to be some serious podcast where we're talking, okay, today we're going to talk about cherry and the properties of cherry according to the Jagan scale. No, that's not this podcast.
Oh, I was actually getting into that. I was kind of curious about cherry. I just cut some up for a project.
Well, I mean, we can talk about it, but it's not going to be like a monotone, Wheeler kind of episode. So anyway, I am so off track. I don't even know how to get back on.
It's okay.
We're talking about signs, talking about CNC, blah, 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 blah. But let's see. I'm also completing the 30-inch security board, which is huge. When I say huge, it's like I knew it's 30 inches, but when you actually see it in front of you, it's like I got to put the handles in like 3 inches so it's comfortable to kind of hold.
Why, you don't want to have them like holding it out full arm length and trying
Well, for me, I'm 6'1", so I mean, like I can do that. But for someone that might be like 5 something, it might be a little difficult. I'm completing that. I'm almost done with it. I'm going to actually use the CNC to carve the engraving in it. I was going to do the laser like, initially they asked, but it was going to take 8 hours. And that's a little too long for me to be burning something that can take, 2.5 hours, maybe 3, I think, on the CNC. So, I'm going to complete that. I'm actually doing a cookie plate that has Santa, if you're thirsty, here's your milk, hungry, here's some cookies, and then carrots for the reindeer. And that's been a little fun project to do because I actually used, some more ash and did a circle. And initially they wanted 18 inches, but after showing them what 18 inches look like to my hand, I got them down to 14. And it's easy because, I'm pretty sure when I was asked to do the 30-inch charcuterie board, I don't think they really registered how large that was.
Yeah.
I did say to them it's pretty large, but, I can't wait to deliver that one. Now, it's a gift. She's cracking up. It's a gift. It's not for the people that have actually bought it. So yeah, the charcuterie board should be an interesting delivery. I can't wait to see the faces of the recipients of the gift. And even, the faces of the people that ordered it. They're actually overseas now, and it was the last thing they did is come to the shop and order that. So it was definitely an honor. I worked with a guy, his wife placed the order. So it was definitely nice. It was a nice gesture to let me do that gift for their friends leaving. They trusted me with making it and for the delivery. So if they listen to this, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Nice.
But other than those couple projects, I have a mallet that I promised Kumu I'm going to make, and I am going to do that. I have already reached out to him and told him I'm back in the shop, and I'm going to make him his mallet. I have a mallet that I'm actually doing for a giveaway. That hasn't been announced yet, and it will be announced here sometime soon, but be on the lookout because it's not my giveaway. It's another creator's giveaway, and AJ and I are going to be making some stuff for that. So if you listen to this podcast and on Instagram, watch our profiles because I'm sure we're going to be advertising a little bit for that. If you're AJ in the background laughing a little bit, it's because I'm maneuvering my mic around my cat. She has taken center platform here and decided that she's going to be taking over the mic. In addition to those 2 mallets that I mentioned, I also have 2 mallets that I'll be making for going away gifts for the same individual I made the Thor hammers for. Nice. There are 2 people leaving their squadron, and they want the going away gift from their squadron to be the mallets or the Thor hammers that I make. Very now, nice. I know one is going to be the 3-foot long Thor hammer. That's 7 pounds. And I know they want about half that size for some other going away gifts. So I'll be making those hopefully here and there. And it's going to be nice to be working with them. Nice. Other than that, I have a project I am in talks with. It's out of state, my first out of state project that I'll be doing. And the details are coming together nicely. And hopefully, if you listen to this, he knows that I'm talking about you. I would say the biggest project to date for me. And I'm looking forward to see how this one pans out. I'll keep you guys updated as I get more details. And once the project is confirmed and down payment is put in place, I will talk more about it.
Very nice.
Yeah, that's what I have going on in the shop, my friend.
Well, I mean, you were talking about a giveaway. I'm going to be doing something in the near future. I'm really excited about it. And maybe by next episode, I'll have a little bit more insight on it. I'm in talks with a brand to help with this giveaway. But yeah, that's all I can say right this very second. We don't like teasing stuff on this episode or on this podcast, but we want to let you know what's going on in our shops, what's going on in our, woodworking journey, and it's some exciting stuff. So I'll definitely be bringing more news. I'm hoping next week, and then definitely on my stories, my Instagram feed and whatnot. So definitely be on the lookout for that.
So we got some questions. Go ahead with the first question.
I'm going to let you choose. We got a new question sent in by someone named Rich. Do you want to go with Rich or Larry?
Let's do Rich first, and then we'll get into Larry's. Because I don't know how many Rich has, but Larry just has one question this episode.
Rich sent me a whopping one question today. And Rich asks, what is the most recent shop project you surprised yourself on and why? And then they also went a little further into detail and gave me an example of what they were kind of asking. thinking it would be hard and it wasn't, or thinking it would come out bad and it didn't. As we talked prior to starting to record, that's kind of every project I go through. Every project I make, I always think it's going to come out horribly wrong. And most of the time, probably like 9 times out of 10, it doesn't come out bad. And then I surprise myself and go, wow, I actually made a flat flag finally and not one that looks like a C, or like a half pipe. But in all honesty, remember that box that I was working on a while back? I did.
Yeah, the ring box?
No.
Oh, no, you're talking about the ammo.
Yes, that was the ammo box. And that one, when I was trying to build it, like I kept on saying, I don't want to do something that you can just go to Hobby Lobby and go pick up, that's maybe has like one brad nail holding the whole thing together. And I wanted to add a little character to it. So I wanted it to be in a way you knew it was handmade, you knew there was thought put into it. And that's where the idea of the half lap joints came from. The brass dowel, the brass dowels didn't really add any structure to it, maybe a little bit, but it was more for aesthetics and just to try something different. But that box was a tough one for me because, I racked my brain so hard on going, how do I want to make this not look so generic? And how do I want to do it without, learning how to cut dovetails or doing box joints? Because I've never done either of those, even though I have the Porter cable that I still haven't taken out of the box. If you listen to previous episodes, I think like maybe the second or third one, we've talked about that on how I don't have that Porter cable out and about. It is still in the box.
It definitely has come up quite a few times.
So I think for the box was one of those, we talked about this. It's such a small project, but yet it was so tasking on myself because I've never made one. I was used to doing flags. Flags are one thing. I did enough at that moment in time that I knew how to do them. But that box was definitely, it was tasking. I'm really trying to think of what other, when I first got into this, I didn't think that coffee table was going to come out looking the way it came out. I wish I knew more then on just, how to attach the top to the base and whatnot to expand for wood expansion, because wood movement is real. And I'm learning that the hard way on each and every project that I do. I don't think I ever posted anything about this, but I talked to you about it. I'm doing that false floor for my buddy's car. Well, I had to send a picture to Josh, I think last week, actually, when we started recording. And the piece was laying on the CNC and it was starting to cup. And I was freaking out going, how am I going to remedy this? So I picked up some actually C channel, and my thought was to kind of force it back into place. And so I actually had to take it off the CNC to do a few other projects. I put it standing on its end against another piece, and the sucker flattened right out. It flattened over that whole week. It's flat. I swear. I went downstairs before and I looked at it. I was like, oh, let me see how bad the cup is.
What kind of voodoo magic are you doing over there, my friend? Because I have never had a piece go out in bow and then come back to flat.
Let me tell you, the flag, if you remember, I did that Cape Cod flag. That one was sitting, it was laying on its back on sawhorses, cupped. I stood it on end against my bench. The next day I come down, it's dead flat.
Okay, so if I ever need anything, fixed, I'm going to drive down the 2 hours, put it against your, bench or whatever, leave it overnight, and then come back for it. Hopefully it's fixed. So hear that. That's an open invitation for me to use AJ's workshop to fix your pieces.
Maybe I'm sounding like some kind of idiot on this one, but the wood has to move. I'm not sure if it's getting moisture from somewhere. Is it drying out a different way? The only difference with that ash piece that was sitting on the CNC for the false floor was it was laying on its back. The only thing I did different was I stood it on end against another piece, and now there's no weight on the other side, so it's nothing like forcing it flat. It was literally just itself leaning against a piece.
I might have to do some more research because maybe you're onto something, or maybe this is a way to flatten out pieces that I'm just not aware of. But that is truly incredible, and I hope it keeps working for you. And I might try it on a project if I have that issue again, which I definitely, I know for a fact I will. Mm-hmm. That's wood movement is one of our biggest things that we have to deal with. We both dealt with it in the past. You got anything else that's
no, that's question? That's really it. Just the box and that coffee table.
Going into mine, I would have to be that 30-inch charcuterie board because I took a slab and I milled it completely down. I got it to the exact size, and I had to think of a way to utilize that slab to create 30 inches out of it, and it was originally like 12. Mm-hmm. Actually, no, it had to be a little thicker or a little wider than that because I couldn't fit it through the bandsaw. I actually had to cut it down after, basically Ford S everything. I showed a post, and on that post, I actually showed me taking a section of that same slab and breaking it down and using it for that Christmas plate. It's the same process. I glued them up, the panels up. I glued them, matching the grain. I spent a lot of time making sure that everything was lined up just perfectly. When you sand something you've glued up after it's cut down and, you're prepping it for finishing and whatnot, and it looks like exactly one piece, no gaps. It looks like one solid piece of wood because the grain just flows, and that the board was, cut at that certain area, but yet the grain just flows from that piece to the next piece. It's a great feeling. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how this was going to end up because I've never worked with ash. And the first time I heard anyone working with it, you're like, oh, a bowed on the CNC. And I'm like, oh my God. I was really hoping that I was going to have good luck with this. So far, it seems to be good. The only issue I had is I cut a little bit into one of my biscuits, and you can see it on the end. I can fill that in, and because I'm going to finish it with Wally oil. Mm-hmm. And you'll never even know, it was there. But for the most part, it's turning out great. I'm really happy how flat it is. I actually brought it in and tested it, and it's dead flat. I'm going to put some handles on there. And I was actually going to toss up a question your way as well. What do you think if I put runners on it to ensure that the stability and strength of it? Because it is 30 inches long and it is half inch. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking that should be stable enough. And I'm going to put the handles where the boards are lengthwise and not so the weight will be pushing in on the seams, but pushing on one board versus so it is stronger structurally. But I was thinking about putting a runner underneath or two runners underneath and then sanding them down at a taper toward the edges. So it sits on that instead of sitting on the actual surface. And it would help keep it straight, keep it off the table or surface a little bit, and give it some rigidity just in case, God forbid, it falls. You know what I'm saying? Glue's pretty strong. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't break or anything. Having the extra assurance almost seems nice. What's your thoughts on that? Because we talked about this before with other projects.
Yeah, the only thing that I would say to that is, you might not have to. How many pieces was it put together?
Let's see, 4 or 5.
Is there being a half inch thick? Now, I know from the piece of ash that I have that was on the CNC, that bowed, if I took it, I could kind of flex it. And that was probably just about 3/4 thick. I could flex it, not a lot, but you definitely knew that there was some movement. Are you afraid that when they put something heavy on it, or not even heavy, but anything on it, that if it would bow?
See, I don't think it would because of where I'm putting the handles. Because
you're putting it lengthwise.
If you lay down the board, it'll be on one board and not where it's on the ends and, relying on multiple seams with glue and biscuits, which should be structurally sound. But, again, I don't think they're going to throw on a piece of, half a pig on this thing and try to, put it on the table.
The size that it is, you never know what they're going to be throwing on that.
I'm pretty sure knowing my clients the way I do, it's going to be more for house parties and a big spread of cheeses and crackers and hors d'oeuvres. and stuff like that. Hopefully, I don't know. It was just a thought because, like, you know how it is. You create a piece, you're looking at it, and you're like, how can this fail? And
if there's a will, there's a way.
Exactly. And you want to make sure that it's not going to fail because nothing's going to be worse if they bring it back in 2 pieces and be like, dude.
It's something to think of.
It's been proven 100 different times by 100 different makers and, glue manufacturers out there that glue joints are stronger than the actual wood joint. Mm-hmm. The wood is going to fail before the glue. But it's very hard to get your mind set in that. I mean, like, I've seen it 100 times. I've tested it myself, and it always comes out that way. But still, that 1%.
Yeah. No, you're 1,000% right on that. I don't know. I would be almost worried just because, I mean, they're not going to be putting anything heavy on it. They're not going to be putting rocks as decorative things around, the hors d'oeuvres and, cold cuts and stuff like that. It's just going to be pretty much a very large serving tray, but I think you'll be fine. I wouldn't worry about stringers or anything like that. I think you'll be all right.
Yeah, I think you're right. I've been toying with the idea, and I wanted to know your opinion. It's always nice to have that second opinion. Never be afraid to ask questions.
Why not think now? Why are you going with a small handle just on one board? Because I was just thinking of it. If you could find a handle or even make a handle that would stretch over all of them and be secured to each board, then you definitely would not have to worry about stringers because you got the handles holding it. It would.
Yeah, I could definitely do that, but I think it would take away from the feng shui of the board. So yeah, I've been thinking about it a lot. I'm not sure exactly. I'm probably not going to do it. I'm going to, toss it up to the old boss, the wife, and see what she thinks. And, maybe we'll throw something like my child on there and carry it around and see if it works.
You almost made me spit out my whole seltzer on that one. But I think the stretchers would take away from it, just like you said, the handles, an oversized handle would take away from it,
Yeah, and it's very clean looking with the ash the way it is and how it's, the light color wood, the engraving itself. And that's another one. Since it's a charcuterie board, should I fill that with epoxy to make it completely flat? Or should I finish it the way it is and, have a possibility of food getting in there? Yep. I'm thinking epoxy to prevent any kind of mishap with that.
I was just going to say that, especially for a serving tray. If it was a cutting board, I would say no way. Just, even though I see it on cutting boards, people using epoxy, I'd rather stick with the wood. But since you're doing a serving tray, I think that'd be the smart idea. Fill it with epoxy so nothing gets caught in it, and it's easier to clean up afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, it is ash and it's a little porous. I'm kind of worried how that's going to take with any kind of overspill as well.
What are you going to coat it with? Walrus, you said?
I was going to do walrus.
What about Odie's?
I don't have any. And if I did, I would.
Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I know. But I'm trying to finish this out and get it out by the end of the week. And I know it might be 2-day shipping, but I wanted to deliver it as soon as possible because they actually placed the order before my the new child, old Jelly Bean, was born. And they've been waiting on it for a while. So now I'm actually officially back in the shop and working on orders. They're one of the first ones I wanted to deliver.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. This tomorrow's Wednesday, you can get it by Thursday, but if you want to get it out before then if you want to get it out on Thursday, then you definitely don't want to put this on there because then you still got to wait for it to cure, and
exactly
and soak in. So yeah, no, do it that way. Now, if you had more time, I would definitely say try Odie's. I still have to try that. I hear such great things about it, especially for like those. What did I just make? But I would have used Odie's on the bottle openers because I know it's a durable finish as well. And, maybe it would protect it a little bit from, if it got any water spilt on it or anything like that. Maybe not thrown in the pool to my bro, but, it would at least protect it just from if you crack open a nice cold one and it, spills all over it, then it might be okay for that. One day I'll definitely try Odie's once I pick it up from Amazon, but right this very second, I'm in the same boat you are, my friend. Walrus oil it is.
Well, nothing wrong with Wally oil. I mean, like nothing at all. I enjoy using it. It's a great product. I would like to try Oldies just because I haven't tried it. That's the only reason. In fact, bringing it a little bit back around to the beginning of the episode where you were talking about producing your own cutting board oil, I thought about doing that as well. I think it's a great idea. Some beeswax, some mineral oil, maybe throw in some citrus of some sort, and I like Daniel Dunlap does his own, and so does, I think it's Old Hammer. What's it called? Old Hammer. Looking it up now. I bought some from him in the very beginning, and he makes his own, and it's great. Old Hammer Woodwork. I was on there, and he makes his own board wax, and it's great stuff. I think it's like $6 or $8 depending on the tin. I can't remember the actual price right now, but his wax is great. It's one of the first waxes I've used, and it really turned out great on the board I used it on. So if you haven't checked him out, go ahead and check him out and pick up some of his wax.
Yeah, I'm excited to. Like I said, the one cutting board Kim is actually going to be bringing with her on Thursday to a friend's house, and that's why we made the wax as well. Because when I sell the cutting boards, I want to give it to them as a little maintenance. It's a little 2-ounce jar. It's nothing crazy, but I figured it'd be a nice little touch to it. They come with labels. The tins that I got from Amazon came with these nice little labels that you can put right on top, write down what it is. And then I'm going to add some maintenance instructions with it. So it adds to that homemade feel. So it's definitely good. I did reach out to Dan as well to see what his ratio to be, beeswax to mineral oil and whatnot. And, he told me I tweaked it a little bit from there because I did not I think he uses coconut oil as well. No. Yeah, I believe so. I think
it's coconut oil. I'm not sure, but
he said only a touch of it.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But
just a little bit.
We tweaked it a little bit. Like I said, we did the beeswax, the mineral oil, and just a tiny pinch of lemon. My God, I was going to say mineral oil again. Lemon
zest.
No, I can't. It's a liquid form. I can't think of it.
Extract.
Essential oil.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So anyway, we used a lemon essential oil as well, and came out really, really well. And we put it on. I have a cutting board, a big booze block that Kim got me when we first started dating, and we put it on there. Worked out really well. Gave a nice finish, and I can't wait to get these boards sent out. And I actually have one possibly going to Virginia, as you were talking about, out of state. So that'll be really cool too. So, I don't know where to go from here.
Well, we additionally have another question from Larry.
Who's Larry again?
You don't know who Larry is? You're going to have to listen to another episode to figure that out. I'm not going to give it away in here. That's too easy. And we're not about, easy. We're about, having to listen for your answers because, yeah. Larry's question for this week is, what resources have helped you the most to grow in your craft?
Oh, I didn't realize you were going to me right now. I'm reading what I tried writing down, and I did not see.
Yeah, it's chicken scratch.
Yeah, no, my chicken scratch is bad because I wrote down forums and didn't realize what I wrote down. The resources, I would have to say my biggest resource was the community of all the other makers, because as soon as, I got into this, I found other makers online, and when I ran into an issue that I was unaware of, what was happening or anything like that, you could do a post and a lot of people will get back to you with their feedback. Had a lot of issues with my flags in the beginning on why certain things were happening, why this was cupping, how to do something is another big thing, especially if you see something on when you're scrolling through your feed and you want to do that, you can reach out to that person and say, I want to make one kind of like it. Can you, help me out my first time? YouTube is another big thing. And speaking of YouTube, I am in the process of making my very first YouTube video, and that will be on how to make a wavy flag.
Nice. I can't wait to see that, man.
It's it's all shot on my GoPro, but it's, I definitely have to get a new camera. I just need to look at what kind of camera would be good for me because I don't want to spend, thousands of dollars, especially on a camera. But YouTube is another helpful way to find out anything. You can type in one thing and 100 videos just pop up instantly. More than 100. But it would be Instagram, YouTube, and then my fantastic co-host, because I reach out to Josh all the time and ask you a bunch of questions. Just like you were asking me a bunch of questions and thought you were annoying me, but you weren't. I just, chose to ignore you for a little bit.
Who is this guy?
I'm like, oh my God, another CNC question? Jesus Lord. No. Anytime you have a question, you always reach out to, the people that you follow. You'll get it every once in a while. I mean, not so much, but you'll get that one person who doesn't want to give you any help, and then you just know not to ask them anything else again. And then, you go ask people that will help out. I know if, I get messages all day long asking, how I do certain things on the flags. Actually, Kumo, I don't know if you saw his recent post, but it was the flag that he's making. And he reached out to me about, how I stain it. What do I stain it with? How do I clear them? This, that, the other thing. And he actually did it almost word for word what I told him to do. He did it exactly that. And it was pretty neat seeing, my advice being utilized. So it was a pretty cool feeling. But definitely Instagram's a big one for me to reach out for resources. How about yourself?
Well, when I first started, when I was thinking about starting, I was in a land far, far away from here with a lot of sand and no water. I'll let you put that together. And I had some time on my hands here and there. And what I did is I did a lot of research on woodworking because I wanted to do more. And it was something that I was becoming really passionate about. So I started doing the YouTube searches. And I was watching YouTube after YouTube about, how to do different techniques, jigs, what you kind of need in the shop to get by, what you could have, and it would make life easier. The whole 9 yards. Jay Bates, 3x3 Customs, Izzy Swan. A lot of these makers inspired me to get into woodworking. I mean, the stuff they were making, their approachability, it was just easy to watch these videos. And they were inspiring. I mean, they taught me a lot through, their mistakes, how they do things. And there was a lot more. Those are the top 3 off the top of my head right now. But when I got back, I went in the workshop in which, I started I know I've talked about this before, the 8-foot by 4-foot bench hybrid I made. And I looked at it, I'm like, this ain't going to work. And that's where, I started getting my orders in. I started, setting up my actual shop. And with that, it kind of just blossomed. That is where I started. That's truthfully where I started. And then, I forget how I got to Instagram. I don't know if it was someone that showed me. Oh, it was Nate's Custom Woodworking. He is a fellow flight engineer, and we were actually in the same location together. And someone was like, hey, you guys both do woodworking. And we didn't know it. So when they said that, we got together, we started talking. And with that, came, what projects you're doing. Yeah, sorry, it's Nate's Custom Wood Projects. Anyway, with that, we started talking. And he's like, Instagram, I post my stuff on there. And he showed me, I'm like, I'm not a social media guy, man. And he's like, well, give this a shot. There's a lot of people on there that will be able to answer your questions, and it's a good resource to have and a good platform to showcase your work. So I went on there and I started my page. And here we are today. Because of everyone in the community, I was able to learn more. I was able to ask questions, kind of get out of my shell and, just go ahead and start making stuff. So yeah, it's definitely been a journey. From YouTube to Instagram to now this podcast.
Now, were you on Instagram prior to this? Like just personal?
Yes, I did have a personal Instagram account and, I was following some woodworking stuff, but I picked it up maybe like every month or so. It was something I didn't really post to. It didn't have much of anything on there. I didn't even post any woodworking related stuff on there. It was just mostly, random posts once in a while here and there.
Okay. Well, that's good. So it wasn't like you jumped into this this new world of Instagram and you at least knew what it was about.
Stories and stuff like that were well beyond me. I remember, I forget, I asked somebody, I'm like, hey, so stories, like, how do you do those? I remember like having this conversation with somebody and they're like, yeah, you just gonna have to do it. It gets more natural and natural. And I find myself when I do it consistently, it's natural. I can go out there, I can knock one out, no problem. But like after the break I had, I've been going out there making story here and there, and I'm feeling a little rusty.
Yeah.
And everyone does it. I'm pretty sure. Maybe it's just me, but it's one of those things that, practice makes perfect.
Yeah, definitely. I'm still struggling with stories, It's funny. Every time I go to do them, it's like one thing after the next. I don't want to do it because I'm too nervous to be on camera. I'm camera shy. I don't want to be on camera. And especially I'm filming myself. I just feel like an idiot just walking around with the camera, their hand being held out and walking around my garage thinking my neighbors are looking at me going, who is this guy? And I remember you were telling me about when your garage door's open and you're doing stories that I think you said your neighbors watch across the street.
At the time, my neighbors would be sitting on their porch and they would be watching me woodwork and doing stories. Like I was like Instagram live every time I was in there. They would be out there and they would just be like, I wonder what he's building and stuff like that. So it was.
You had an audience.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. Because I didn't know about it until like my wife said something, because I guess they were making some comments here and there, all good stuff. But it was just like, they're sitting on the porch. I didn't think nothing of it. And I'm pretty sure I still get that because, right now I'm making a lot of noise with the CNC and, there's a lot of people moving in and out because it's that season for us. And it's just one of those things where like people get curious. Some people walk by and they're like, hey, is that a laser going? What is that blue light? And I'm like, it's my laser, and they'll walk by and be like, oh, what's that machine? I'll be like, oh, that's a CNC, or, wow, that's a great shop. And I'm like, yeah, build it up from scratch.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where like, I don't mind it at all. Instagram is a community. I live in a community, and what it comes down to is we're all here for each other. I agree everyone that wants to know anything about the shop or what I'm doing, because you know what? Their interest, maybe I'll inspire them to do some woodworking. If not, maybe, satisfy some curiosity or get a job, which has happened. I've had people walk by when I was doing the cornhole boards. I've had people like, wow, those are so nice. Later, they reached out and they bought a set off me. It doesn't pay to be rude and, dismiss people. A community that, builds together, stays together.
Wow. No, that touched my heart, sir. That really, I felt that in my soul.
Tear.
I am tearing.
I see a tear.
I am tearing. Well, I can't go anywhere on after that. I mean, you set the bar high on that one. That was really good. I like that. And this is me being sincere. I'm not even busting your chops for once. Josh is going to cry now. I know it is. No.
Oh, yeah, we're having an emotional moment. Let's have a moment of silence. What is that? That must be Halloween approaching.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, to be part of this community and to be part of this Sawdust Nation, you can reach myself, AJ, over at Crafted and NJ, or Josh over at North Country Woodworking. And, we also are on Instagram, as Josh was saying, under Sawdust Nation Podcast. If you want to send us any questions, comments, additions, deletions, if you want Josh's cat to be the main star of this podcast, please let us know. It's already in the contract. I already wrote it down.
Wait, there's a contract?
So anyway, if you want to reach us by email, it is sawdustnationpodcast@gmail.com. Send us your questions in a voice message, and then we will play them over the Sawdust Nation airwaves, and then answer your question at hand. And if we don't know the answer, we will Google it ferociously fast and get you the answer. And it might be wrong. Just like when I looked up if ash is good for cutting boards, and Google told me 3 different times, yes, no, maybe so. But anyway, you got any final words, sir? Oh, one thing. No, you can't take this away from me. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, leave us a review, comment on it. 5 stars would be greatly appreciated. It helps us get up in the ranks. And next thing you know it, we're going to be big stars. Bigger than I already am. Josh is still a little star, but we all know that. I'm just joking. We're both gigantic stars. We have celebrity status at this point.
In all seriousness, if you're listening to the podcast, we like to do this because we like reaching out and, interacting with people. Trails Custom Woodworks and Kumho's Workshop and the others that have reached out, submitted questions. We appreciate it. The more interaction that we have with you guys, the better the show can be. The more stars that you rate, the more we can reach other people. So share it to your friends. Reach out to us. Give us questions. We want to hear your voices on the podcast as well. We want to give you guys shout outs. We like talking about the makers we interact with, and we enjoy interacting with every single one of you guys. So if you don't mind, this Halloween, go ahead, shoot us a DM, a question, something that, is going on in your workshop. We'll get back to you pretty much right away. We're pretty good about getting back to people. And we want to include you in the podcast in some way. So if you're interested in that, do what AJ said. Go ahead, DM us, email us, reach out. We do appreciate it. So with that, I hope you guys have a ghoulishly good Halloween. And don't get spooked by listening to the end of this podcast, because Sawdust Nation out. See ya.
Actually, I'm going to mention something that you forgot to mention, my friend. We, as a Sawdust Nation, we want to get our name out there, and we want you guys to be able to remember what podcast you are listening to that you got to send your questions into. If you didn't remember, maybe you're looking around your shop and you go, hey, there's my sticker wall, and there's a sticker, and it says Sawdust Nation Podcast. We are in the process of getting stickers made up for all of our listeners. So once we get them in, we will let everybody know. Then you can DM us, and then we will sticker swap and get you some Sawdust Nation stickers out there. Now I'm out. No. That's it. You said already out. You should have left already.
Damn. Yep, I'm out. Mic drop. Thank you for listening to Sawdust Nation. Now come get your candy.
Trick or treat.
Now come get your stickers.